Good morning, guys. Good morning, guys. Hey, today I'm going to hopefully do a good informative video for you guys. We're going to talk about my tandem rig that I use 85-90% of the time up on the Delaware. And this rig has proven itself over, oh boy, let's say a 7-year period, okay? So with that, we're going to tie the rig to later on after I talk about and explain it and talk about, you know, my drift and just my technique in general. Okay, but it is the glow bug. Okay. We're going to more so state the big ginger nymph. I also use the big brown nymph, but the ginger nymph I probably use a little bit more. Maybe have a teeny bit more success on the ginger nymph than the big brown. And then my hotspot pheasant tail with the lively legs, okay? And my big ginger nymph and big brown nymph, I use lively legs too. So for the tying portion of this video, you're gonna have to get lively legs because that's how I tie it. And you know, you can do whatever you want, but if you want my pattern and what I use, that's what I use. So you're gonna have to get the lively legs. Okay, let me talk about the tandem rig first as it is. Most of the times up there, most of the times I use 4X. Okay, there are times in the summertime or if it's super low clear water, I will go down to 5X. And when I'm on top at the Delaware, I'll even use 5X or 6X sometimes. But as far as nymphing goes, most of the time I use 5X. And I just use my Seaguar, I think it's 6-pound test, which is my 4X, I should say. 4X. The diameter is a little bit, teeny bit bigger, but it's so much cheaper. I have a 1,000-yard spool of the Seaguar 6-pound that I use for my 4X that I'm just running out now, and it's 7-8 years old, and it's not dry rotted or anything like that. So I mean, I don't keep it out in the sunlight or anything like that. I take off like 50 to 100 yards of it and put it on a mini spool when I'm using it. But this is what I use. I use 4X most of the time, okay? And I place my split shot starting out, and there is no set split shot because it all depends on the depth and flow of the water you're fishing, okay? And how the fish are feeding that day. But we're just gonna say for this description, I got a number 1 split shot here, and I have it about 8 inches above my glow bug. And let's just say that's my starting point. If I have to change up a split shot or down a split shot, I will what I call micro adjust the split shot before I change out a split shot. So if I'm bouncing on bottom too much or just getting too many snags, I will slide the split shot, like I'm starting around 8 inches, I will slide it away from my top fly, which is, in this case, is my glow bug, okay? Now I build my tandem rig from the heaviest fly up top down to my lightest fly on the bottom. I don't build it the other way. I know a lot of Euro nymphing guys build it the other way. They build it their heaviest on the bottom as their point fly on the bottom. My point fly is my top fly, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But the split shot with my glow bug is now my heaviest area of my tandem rig. Then my big ginger nymph or big brown nymph is the middle fly, and then the hotspot pheasant tail as the lightest fly, which it is. Okay, so if I'm hitting bottom too much, I will slide this split shot further away from the glow bug. I will get to about 12 to 14 inches, and if it's still dragging bottom too much, then I will switch out for a lighter split shot. And also vice versa, if I want this tandem rig to sink a little deeper, I will slide the split shot closer to the glow bug. I will get to probably within 3 inches And if that still is not sinking in enough, then I'll go back to 8 inches, add another split shot. And it's all trial and error, because there's no like, I'll add a number 4, I'll add a number 1. It really just depends on the depth of the water and the flow. Okay, so weight adjustment with nymphing is constant all day long. I don't care what stream you're on. It is constant adjustment. You can go to one hole that's 3 foot deep and it's a slow hole, or next spot you can go to is a 2 foot hole that's ripping super fast. So you're always adjusting your weight all day long whenever you're nymphing. That is a constant thing, and you have to get used to it, and you have to you gotta be diligent with it. Okay, if you want to have success and be in the strike zone of the fish, which most of the time for nymphing is on the bottom, okay, and you want it bouncing on the bottom. Occasionally getting a snag every now and then is not bad, but if you're getting snags and you're getting hung up with every cast, then you're too heavy. Okay, so now I'm tying with my split shots, with my flies. I am tying off the eye of the hook. You can easily get in 2 liters through the eye of the hook with a clinch knot, okay, especially with with a 4X. Between my flies, I start out with about 16 inches between my flies, okay? If I have to change flies or change things up, or I lose a fly and it gets shorter and shorter, my segment, I'll go up to about 12 inches, 11, 12 inches, and then probably just 12. And then I'll take it off and switch out and put another segment back on, a new segment that's 16 inches, okay? And so that's 16 inches now between my flies. And there's my pheasant tail, the hotspot pheasant. That's my last one. And this one is also dangling off the eye. The knots are off the eye, so it's dangling. It gives it a little bit more freedom of movement than tying off the bend. Although I tied off the bend many years and didn't have any issues, I just like this movement and theory more of tying off the eye. And it is easier to tie it off of the eye versus on the bend of the hook. Okay, at least for me. And so that is my tandem rig. So now, how I fish this, or my drift, as you guys see in my videos, I throw upstream much higher than a lot of guys. Most guys, nymphers, usually throw upstream at a 45-degree angle. It comes downstream at a 45. They pick up and throw. I throw more straight up, higher up. I bring in the slack line and lead, L-E-A-D, lead the flies, my tandem rig down through the drift, okay? Always keeping a straight line, not a taut line, but a straight line, because I have a little bow in the line, but there's no S-bends, absolutely no S-bends. It is, soon as it hits, I'm on point with my rod. I bring in the slack line with my left hand, and I'm leading it down through the same flow, the same speed as the flow of the water, if not a tad bit slower, okay, to give the rig time to sink, okay? And I bring it down to about even with me. I'll follow it down and lead it down to about even with me, and then after it passes me, it starts to swing. And when it swings, now, guys ask me about this, and I've tried to ensure guys that I know what I'm talking about. But this rig comes down in line. If you are leading it correctly, this rig comes down split shot, glow bug, big brown or ginger nymph, and then my pheasant tail. It comes down in a line, okay? And it doesn't matter how it casted. If you're leading it correctly and pulling, I say pulling, but you're really not pulling. You really are pulling, but you don't want to pull too fast. But you're leading your tandem rig down through your drift, it is coming in line. And so it is, I have noticed this so many times, especially when I'm sight fishing and the water's crystal clear and low. You could see it is the split shot, the glow bug, like 1, 2, 3, all in a line coming down. So my offering to the fish, my presentation to the fish is all on the bottom for the first half of my drift, because I incorporate the swing and the hang with most of my drifts. Unless I get a hit, then I set the hook in the middle wherever I get a hit. But for the most part, if I don't get a hit, I usually let my drift go down from the top all the way through the middle, and then I let it go through the swing, and I'll let it hang down there for about 5 seconds. And then I'll drag and pick the tandem rig up to the surface, and then I flip upstream with a water load cast. But this rig will come down in line, and my presentation to the fish is 3 offerings they could take. And the theory behind this, and it has worked for me many years, is the glow bug catches a lot of fish, but sometimes there's times that I don't catch a lot of fish on the glow bug, but it acts as a true attractor. It catches the fish's attention. The fish either come over or look over in the direction of your tandem rig, and then hopefully go for either the second fly or the big ginger nymph or the pheasant tail, which that has proven to work for me very well throughout the years. And now you have to check your regulations in the areas that you fish. Make sure you can use 3 flies, but in Pennsylvania you can, in New York you can. So but if other guys in other states, make sure. If not, my last video I only used 2 flies because I wasn't getting a single hit on the pheasant tail, so I just took off the pheasant tail. And the last video up on the Delaware, I was just catching fish with the glow bug and the big ginger nymph. So so now as far as the swing and the hang, which I catch a ton of fish on the swing and the hang. And don't ask me why they're hitting like a glow bug on a swing, but they just do. And my theory again in this is, the longer your rig is in the water, chances of you catching a fish go up. So it's already in the water. It's partly a lazy way of fishing. Just let it go through the swing, let it go through the hang for 5, 6, whatever seconds you want to let it hang there. So many fish I also catch on the hang. With the fish, it's just hanging there. And when it goes through the swing and the hang, it's going through the water column from the bottom up to the top. But then before I cast it, I will drag the rig a little bit. You don't see it because it's all part of my cast, but I'll drag it a little bit, and then I flip it upstream for my next cast. And because you can't cast the fly even with a water load cast. You have to bring your rig up to the surface. It can't be under the water, or it just messes up your cast. So you have to bring it up to the surface, bring that tandem rig, those flies up to the surface, drag them a little bit to create tension, to create the flip upstream. Okay, and it's very lazy. It's very easy. So, but again, my presentation and offering to the fish is all on the bottom. Okay, which when the fish are feeding, nymphing, they are 99% on the bottom. The only time fish are in the water column truly is when there is a hatch coming off. And it could be even a hatch in the wintertime for midges. They'll feed in the column in the wintertime if there's a good midge hatch coming off and the water column is full of midge pupas. Okay? But if there's no hatch coming off and the fish aren't actively feeding, like on the surface, or there's no bugs coming off, those fish 99% of the time are on the bottom. Okay, so you want your presentation near the bottom where most of the fish are. So that's why I give them 3 offerings on the bottom throughout the first half of my drift, and then as it goes to the swing and the hang, it'll go through the water column and then come up to the surface. And all throughout that whole drift, there's always a chance of me catching a fish. As you see in my videos, I'll catch them at the top, I'll catch them in the middle, I'll catch them at the end. I'll catch them at the swing or catch them at the end on the hang. So it's a very simple way of fishing. It's even bordering lazy, and you know, you don't have to be absolutely so precise with everything. I tell guys when I'm giving presentations, I absolutely never ever look for the perfect drift. I look for a drift that is good enough to get that fish interested just to taste my flies. And if he tastes my flies and hits it, then I got a chance to catch him. So it doesn't always have to be the perfect drift. If you want to try to achieve that all the time, yes, and maybe with most of my presentations I am getting a great drift, but that's not my end all be all thing of, like, if I'm not catching fish, I never blame it on the drift. At least for me, I don't. Like, there's times in some of my videos I'll nickname it the Hail Mary cast, where I'm 20, 25 yards out there, the furthest cast I can, drifting, and I still, catch a fish or get a hit. And a lot of times, sometimes if you see guys are using, or even if you use wet flies or streamers, your rig is totally under drag. That's just the way you fish wet flies and streamers, and the fish hit them. And they do that with nymphs too. So sometimes don't ever give up on trying to if you can't make the perfect presentation. I'd rather try for the best drift I can versus say, I'm not even going to try, or just walk away from the spot. No, heck, I'll throw out there and try, just the best presentation I can get, and hopefully they'll hit it. And a lot of time it surprises it, and they will hit it. I think you have seen that many a time in my videos. So that is my tandem rig. This is my, I'm going to quote, proven tandem rig for the Delaware for me. And when will I stray from this? Well, obviously, if I'm not catching anything for a long time, I can't say what a long time is, but a couple hours go by and I'm not getting anything, then I may put on a tan mop fly, I might put on a blue perdigon, I just might try other flies, soft tackles or whatever, and, go from there, just like any other day on any other stream. But for the most part, up on the Delaware, I use these 3 flies. I'll keep to it, and this rig has proven summer, winter, spring, fall. I keep this same rig on all the time, and I catch fish with it. I think in 8 years of doing videos, I've done at least 30, maybe over 30 videos up on the Delaware. You could scroll through all of them, check out all my Delaware videos, and I would bet that almost every time I got this rig on, for the most part, like I said, there's times where you see I will change it up, but and you will see me catching a lot of fish on this rig on the Delaware. And I will use this rig at other places too. I've used it on the Tully, I've used it on Penns Creek, I've used it on Pine Creek, and catch fish with it too. But this isn't. It just seems to be more effective up on the Delaware than all the other streams. Now, little story behind the big ginger nymph. It started out years ago. It started out years ago as an Isonychia, and in my old videos you'll hear me calling it an Isonychia because that's what it was. It was a I started out with like a size 14 2x or 3x long. Then I went to a size 12 3x long. It was all on the darker side, and it was supposed to be a nice Onychia slate drake nymph, which it was. And then I started adapting it to make it look more like a stonefly. Now, stoneflies are a 3-year cycle, the big stoneflies, okay? Golden stone, big brown stoneflies, they have a 3-year nymph or life cycle. So, for years and years, in my last couple of videos, I had tying videos of the wiggle nymph version of it and the Isonychia version of it. I was using the size 12 3x long, and that really is only a little more than a ½ an inch big. But a full-size golden stone or big brown stone, they're probably over 2 inches long. They're huge. So the representation that I'm throwing is more like a juvenile, or I don't know. I mean, it's a midlife nymph, and so just recently, within the past couple months, I've been using a Daiichi 1750 4x long size 12 hook, and it has a straight eye. Daiichi 1750 size 12, and that is a 4x long hook. And I was using a Lively Legs small, which is a size 12 14 legs on this nymph pattern. But with this size 12 4x long Daiichi hook, I'm using the medium Lively Legs, which is a size 810 hook size legs, and it just looks a little bit, maybe it's like 2 millimeters longer, and the legs are a little bigger, more pronounced, just a little bit more noticeable. And you know, if you pick up a real full-grown big stonefly nymph, they look almost prehistoric. There's huge legs, huge antennas, huge tails. So like I said, my pattern is basically like a like a teenager. So it's nowhere near the size of a full-size adult stonefly nymph that is going to emerge soon. So that's the offering that I have been using. The last video that I just did a couple weeks ago that you guys have been watching, I was using that size of a nymph, the Daiichi 1750 size 12 4x long, and it worked great. So coming up will be the tying portion of this video, and we're going to do the glow bug, which there are many glow bug egg patterns out there when you can use it. But when I go through it, I'll show you the colors that I use. I really only use 3 colors, but I use one color 80% of the time, which is a fluorescent cheese and ecstasy. Then I'll use a fluorescent sunburst orange maybe 10% of the time, and then the other 10% of the time I'll use like a light hot pink color, and that's only for stocked rainbows. But we're going to do that pattern. That's only a 2-minute pattern. That's real quick, but I'm going to show you how I tie it, just if you're curious. Then the next one will be the hotspot pheasant tail, my version of it with the Lively Legs, and then the next one will be the big brown nymph. So okay guys, stay tuned, and those patterns will be up, and I will have a recipe with the ingredients that you can pause the tape, pause the video for if you want to write down the ingredients. Okay guys, thanks a lot. Okay guys, the first fly we're going to do is the glow bug, and which is just an egg pattern. And like I said, there's so many patterns on the internet for the egg pattern. This is just how I do it. Okay, I'm using a 2488 hook. It has a barb on it. If you want barbless, you can use a 2499 hook, or just any barbless Euro caddis bend hook, nymphing hook. I'm using a 3/32 tungsten gold bead that I'm going to slip on over top of this. Remember, your small side, the small hole side of your bead goes on first towards your eye. Make sure I got these bead tweezers. That helped me thread it on my eye. Now, there you go. So that's a 3/32 gold tungsten bead. This is a size 14 TMC Tiemco 2488 hook. Let me go back and just see that it looks good in my camera. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, I am using a light Cahill, which is a pale yellow. I'm using Vivus 16-aught, but you can use 10, 12, 14-aught Vivus or 70 denier, just like a light yellow color. You're going to build up a little dam behind the bead to keep the bead in place. Just a little one. Then you're going to go halfway down your shank and stop. Okay, cut off that excess. This is like a 1-minute fly. Then I'm using the standard ecstasy material. This is number 2 fluorescent cheese, and I guess Solderini also sells like this same material in their egg fiber material. I think they size it as a 15mm size, which is the ecstasy standard size. Okay, this ecstasy material has a middle cord in it, so we're going to cut the sides of this to expose that middle cord, just about a 1/4 inch, maybe a 1/4 inch of it. I'm cutting around the sides of the middle cord just to expose that middle cord, so I can hold on. Okay, so it will expose that middle cord. Now we're gonna go over top of that middle cord. I'm gonna lay it right where our thread stopped. We're gonna tie it in and go back to the bend of the hook, maybe a little bit down the bend, just a teeny bit down the bend, and then we're gonna come back up, securing that ecstasy material in place right up to the eye. And then I'm going to use a small drop, a little bit of super glue, and rub it over top, and just dab it over top of those thread wraps. If you want, you could use a pin and just put it over top of the thread wraps. And that will help secure when we wrap this ecstasy material on there. Okay, now we're going to stroke, preen back the ecstasy fibers backwards. And with each wrap, we're going to preen it back, okay, because these fibers are going backwards. And they won't always face that way, but that's why you have to preen it, to get them out of the way of each consecutive wrap. So we're probably going to take about 4 to 5 wraps. There's one wrap, and preen it. The next wrap, don't go over top of your other wrap, you're going to go right next to it. Okay, this is our third wrap, preen it back. Fourth wrap, preen it back. Fifth wrap, I might get 5.5 wraps. There you go. 2, I'll do 3 wraps to secure it in place behind the bead. Okay, and just cut off your excess. Now basically it's done. Like I said, it's literally a 1-minute fly. Once you start cranking these boys out, they're just simple. And then they're going to do like a 3-4 wrap whip finish. Okay. Sometimes I'll put a drop of super glue behind it, other times I won't. It's not usually going to come out. You can catch 20 fish on that before it starts falling apart. Okay. What I will do though, now it's done, but I like my glow bugs and egg patterns looking more round and making it look like it's longer and has a tail at the end. So I will trim this, just this back portion, just make it look a little more roundish. Okay. And that is it for the glow bug. It's got the tungsten bead on there to help it sink. Okay. And simple fly, but a super effective fly pattern. That's our little attractor pattern, attractor fly of our tandem rig. Okay. Okay, guys. Hang loose. We're gonna get ready for the pheasant tails next. Okay. Hotspot pheasant tail. Okay. Okay, here we go, guys. Next fly is my hotspot pheasant tail. Okay, and we make this with the lively legs. Now, I make this with yellow and the brown. The brown has some purple flakes in the legs, but I'm going to be using the yellow with the brown flakes. Only reason I'm using the yellow is I tied up so many of them with the brown legs. I didn't tie that many with the yellow. I use both of them the same. They both are effective. Just depending on the clarity of the water. Sometimes, with dirtier water, I like to use the brown legs. With a little clearer water, I like to use the yellow legs, and they both work effectively as well. But I have options, sometimes. So we're going to use the yellow lively legs for this demonstration. Okay, so I'm using dark brown Vivus 16-aught. You can use 70 denier 8-aught, or no, 8-aught UTC, or 70 denier, or Vivus in the 16-aught or 14. Just a thin dark brown thread. Start it behind the eye a little bit, and then we're going to go halfway down the shank. Okay, right there. Cut off your excess, and then we are going to get our coq de leon. I like a darker coq de leon. Okay, with those barred yellow, tannish with the black or dark brown bars in it. That makes a really super nice tail when it has that contrasting colors in it. I use about 5 or 6 fibers of that. Okay, you could either, before you tear it off, or you're going to pull it off or cut it off, make sure you pull it down to the side a little bit and line up your tips. Once your tips are lined up, pinch it with your fingers and just pull straight off. Okay, and that will keep, I got the stem there, but either way your tips will be nice and lined up. Okay, and the tail is going to be roughly the length of the shank of the hook. Oh, I forgot to tell you, this is a Tiemco 102Y hook, 102Y. Okay, now I'll finish tying that tail and let me tell you why. This is a forged hook. This is a micro barb hook, and it is an extra wide gap hook. Excellent hook. I use other hooks too, but if I have this in stock, I'll definitely use the Tiemco 102Y hook. Super strong, like I said, a micro barb, and I think it's a 1X short shank. These numbers, size numbers are in the British numbers. They're in 15, 17, 19, 13, numbers. They're not in even numbers. So this is a 15. I'm using the bigger number just for demonstration. I mostly tie these in the 17 and a 19, which is more like an 18 and a 20. But I'm using the 15 just because it's easier to see. And the micro lively legs do fit on all three. It's just a little more squished on the 19, but I can get them on there, and you're basically means your abdomen is not going to be as visible, but it is still visible. So you just learn how to cut it shorter and to finagle it to fit in under your wing case. But you'll see how we do it here. So we're going to tie our tailing material back to the start of the bend, and again, make sure your tail sticks out straight, that it's not bending down the bend. If it starts bending down the bend, you went too far. Okay, that's nice and straight out there. Okay, then our ribbing material, I'm using, you could use ultra wire UTC, ultra wire in small or extra small gold. I am using Semperfli 0.1 today, but you can use 0.1 or 0.2. The 0.1 might be for the 19 or 20 hook. You can get by with the 0.2, slightly thicker one, for the 18 and 16 or 17 and 15 in the British sizes. Okay, so we're going to put that on the back half and tie it in. Okay, have it sticking out the back. Go back to the start of your tail, right there, it's just sticking out. Then going to pull down about 2.5 inches of thread and wax it up with your dubbing wax. Just a light little coat of your dubbing wax. And then I am using SLF Squirrel Dark Brown. SLF Squirrel Dark Brown. Okay, I love the dark brown color. I mean, you can use pheasant tail fibers because this is a pheasant tail, and I did it for years and years and years, but they're sometimes a pain to deal with, the pheasant tail fibers. My older videos, I did use them, but I've gotten used to using just regular dark brown dubbing. The SLF has like some Antron blending it, a little sparkly. I love the dark brown. It's almost blackish when it gets wet. And I wet my fingers with my saliva to my tongue too. This you want very thin on your thread, a very thin dubbing noodle. You don't want this thick at all. You might only do just 2 inches of it, and we'll start there and slide it up to your hook. You want a nice thin abdomen with a slight little taper of thickness going up towards your thorax. Okay. Real thin. That's it. Little bit. Pull that back. That. Boom. Don't want to crowd. Gotta leave space in there for the lively legs. Okay. Then I will try to trim some of those guard hairs all out of there. That's just too. I know some guys like to make their nymphs real buggy. I like to make mine nice and thin and look a little bit more realistic. There was a time when I did make them buggy, but now I like to make them look. Pheasant tail or blue-winged olive nymphs are so small, so skinny. Not saying it won't work, but that's just what I've gone to in my later fly fishing years. I'm just trimming some of those guard hairs that sticking out a little too much. And then we are going to counter wrap with our rib. You counter wrap the opposite way of your dubbing wraps because you don't want to bury. If they go the same way, you'll sometimes bury your ribbing inside your dubbing wraps and it won't be as visible. So if you counter wrap it, they're more visible. So we're going to probably get 4 or 5 wraps out of that. We just got 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then we're going to 2 secure wraps there. Cut off our excess. And you can add 1 or 2 secure wraps just to get that tag down. Tie that tag down. Okay. So our back half of our fly is done. Now, just gonna get these, boom. Okay. Now we're going to get our turkey. This is a lacquered turkey feather segment. Okay, this one is about 4 fibers wide. Okay, and this is the end of the feather, and this side is wider. It's closer to the stem. Okay, so we're going to take that wider, thicker side because that's going to be our wing case, and we're going to have the shiny. There's a dull side and a shiny side. Shiny side facing up. Okay, and we're just going to go over halfway over the thorax, and we're going to tie back at the back of your dubbing. Tie it in at the back of your dubbing. You want to be pushing real tight up against the back of the dubbing because you need to make space for those lively legs. Okay. Keep going back further over top of that dubbing. Okay. Then let's put a little bit of wax on our thread, about 2 inches of the thread. We're going to wax up a little bit, and then we're going to get our hotspot material. This is our Ice Dub UV Shrimp Pink. Ice Dub UV Shrimp Pink. Okay. And we're just going to sometimes I'll use even the swax. Now I'm going to put a little bit of that. That's a little more tackier. But synthetics don't always dub the best. And you just want a little, we'll call it a wisp. A wisp of material. Just a little wisp of material. I wet my fingers. And make sure you can get it off your tongue. So you just want a little wisp of material, but you want to do about 2 inches of it because we're going to put a base layer on under the lively legs, and then you're going to have a securing layer on to secure the lively legs in place. Okay. So let's make this nice and thin, just a wisp, but you can see that glittery UV ice dub material. And now for the lively legs, we're going to cut off. There are 3 legs there. Okay, let me get my. Okay, so there's 3 legs there. We're going to cut off these 2 back legs. The front legs are the 90-degree legs. Then you have your middle legs and your back legs. We're going to cut off the 2 back legs, but keep the stem. We're just going to cut off the side part of the leg. Okay, so I'll show you. Going to get our scissors here and go up the side of the stem, cut the back leg off, go up the side of the stem, cut the back leg off. So we still have the stem that we can use. Okay, and we're going to put a base layer on starting near the front, and then taking like 3 or 4 wraps back to the wing case. Okay, and I might have to put just a smidge more UV material on there because I don't think I'll have enough. So we just want a little wisp. Okay, so there we go. And get our lively legs. And we're going to position them more backwards just so that the front legs are maybe a millimeter behind the eye. So we're going to do a center wrap and then a back wrap like a figure 8. Do another back wrap, figure 8 it towards the middle. You could probably go over the middle one more time, and then we're going to go right behind the eye. 2 wraps on top of that tab, and then we're going to pull that tab back and do 2 wraps underneath, and that'll secure everything in place. Then we're going to get that in place. We're going to get the back tab, pull it up and back, cut it off nice and flush. Front tab, pull it up straight up. We're going to pull it straight up, nice and flush. Okay, and then we're going to get our wing case material, that turkey, and pull it over. Pull it a little bit firm, pull down on it, take 2 or 3 wraps over top, and then we're going to get the turkey material, bring it back, and do 2 or 3 wraps underneath. And now that is secure. We're going to cut off our material to make sure you don't get too close and you cut your thread. Okay, and then you do at least 3 or 4 whip finish wraps on top of everything, right behind the eye. There you go. Okay, so now we're pretty much done, but I'm going to clean up all that iced I got nice pointy scissors. See how pointy they are? They're so nice to work with. Make sure you have yourselves a nice pair of pointy scissors. And I like the ice stub on there, but I'd like to use it just as a hotspot. I don't want it to be too bulky, too much. And after you catch a couple fish, they're going to pull out a lot of that stuff too. So that is our, now I'm actually not done yet. I'm going to, for added durability on that wing case, we're going to put 1 drop of super glue. You could use lacquer. I like using super glue. It dries quick. Come on. Okay, that's a little better. Oh geez. No more. There you go. And I'll spread that over top of my whip finish. Okay, and we are done. That is a gorgeous looking pheasant tail nymph. Okay, how realistic that looks. Nice dark abdomen with that gold rib. Your cocktailion tail. A nice fat accentuated thorax with the hot spot underneath. Catches me a lot of fish up in the Delaware. Okay, there you go, guys. Okie dokie. Next one, it will be, the last fly we'll do is the ginger nymph, the big ginger nymph. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Okay guys, the last fly we're gonna do is the big ginger nymph. Okay, so this is the Daiichi 1750 size 12 4x long. This has the straight out eye. The straight eye adds like 1 or 2 millimeters to the shank. Okay, and so we're gonna start now with a the lead-free round wire lead wraps under the thorax. Okay, so you're gonna take a little bit here and bend it and hold it over, and we're going to get 11 or 12 wraps out of this. So probably do 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're just going to get 11 because I'm gonna cut this off, and I didn't count this tag out here at the end, so we'll just do 11. And you're going to need your fingernails to push down these ends. Okay, do this last tag end, bend it down and over, make it look nice and clean, and we're going to keep it behind the eye. I guess that's about 2 millimeters behind the eye. And we're going to use our 6/0 uni thread or 140 denier white thread. Okay, 6/0 or 140, like a 140 UTC. We're going to build up a little dam on this side of the lead threads. I'm going to save this little tag here. This little tag we're going to save and lay this over the back of the threads so that our white thread wrap doesn't sink down in and separate the lead thread wraps. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're just gentle, firm wraps. And then we're going to go behind here. Then we can cut this tag off, and they're going to build up a little dam on this side, the back side of the lead thread wrap, so that it's not a big drop off. We'll go back over top of these lead wraps just a couple times. The front looks good already. We'll go back to the back again. Build that up just a little bit more. Nice taper down to the shank, the hook shank, okay? There we are right there. Then our tail. Our tail is our brown ostrich herl. This is like a medium, I would call this like a medium fluff or a medium thickness of an ostrich herl. I don't like really dark brown. This is almost like a medium brown color, and this is a medium thickness. I'll use about probably five or six of these medium thicknesses of the ostrich herl. Sometimes you get really thin ones that are sparse, and you might have to use 7 or 8 fibers. Sometimes you get really thick ones, and you might only use 3 or 4 of them. So you'll learn as you make more like what thickness you want it, but this medium thickness, I'm going to use about 5 or 6 of these fibers. So I'm going to cut 5 or 6 off here. Let me see how many I got. That's about 6. Okay, and we're going to line up our tips. The tapered end tips we're going to line up. Okay, let me take these. One fell out of there. Try to line these up as best you can. Let me see here, hold on. Get these two here. Right there. Oh, jeez, I dropped one. I got it right here. I dropped two. So that takes a little just to get these lined up the right way. And give me this last one here. I'll take it. That was 5. That's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6. Okay, we'll just use 6. Okay. And we're going to make the tail about 3/4 of an inch. Roughly, you want enough there so that it waves, has some good movement to it. So that's about 3/4 of an inch to an inch at the most. Let's just say 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to tie that in. Back to just the start of the bend so that your tail's sticking out straight. You don't want your tail bending downward. Okay, I'm going to trim off this excess here. Okay. Okay. We'll build up a little bit here. There you go. Okay. There you go. Okay. And, okay, so we got our tail on. We got our lead wire wraps. The wire wraps to add weight to it. Now we're going to put on, this is gold ultra wire BR thickness gold ribbing. Okay, so we're going to start this behind, we're going to lay it behind the the lead wire wraps and just go up and down it, up and down, back to the start of the tail at the end. Okay, there you go, that's out there. Then we are gonna get our turkey. This is our it's going to be our wing case and our top cover of our abdomen. I forget what they call it. Jeez, oh man, overbody, the overbody. And we want the shiny side up, dull side down. And this was sprayed with lacquer too. I'll show you what these are my turkey tails that I've cut out and used. And I spray each side with a light coat of lacquer, let it dry. It dries in just minutes. There's another one that I used, okay, that I've been using for a while. And we're going to, I'm going to cut off this little section here. Okay, this is roughly about 5 or 6. This is about 6 fibers thick. Now, at the stem side of it is wider than the tip side. The tip side tapers down to a point. So the tapered pointy section you put down towards the tail because it's thinner. Okay. So you tie that in up on top evenly. Okay. And that's sticking out. I'm going to build up this abdomen just a little bit with the white thread. Oop, 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 right there. Just a little bit. And then we are going to use our ginger. This is why it's called a ginger nymph. Our ginger ostrich herl. This is more on the thicker side. How nice and fibery it is, because that makes up some of the abdominal gills. Okay. And so I like a nice webby, thicker ostrich herl for that. And I'm gonna, I clipped off the thin part of it, and I like the nice bushy middle. We're going to put that in over top of the whole abdomen, tie it in. We're still using this white thread. Back to everything's laying out back. Now we're going to get our wax. And this is we're probably going to do 2 sections of this. This is one long section. It's about 4 inches long of exposed. It's 4 inches long of an exposed thread. And I use basically a cream mix of a Antron natural dubbing blend. Now, I don't know what they sell at stores. I know they have an Antron natural dubbing mix. It's like a cream, just cream. Any type of a cream dubbing with an Antron blend. I like it to have a little bit of a sparkle. I'm using ginger raccoon. Ginger raccoon with a cream Antron blend. And this dubbing noodle you're going to make on the thicker side. Okay, this doesn't have to be real thin like the pheasant tail was. This one we're going to be a little thicker. It's still tight, but it's thicker. Just using more material. Because remember, this is a stonefly. This is not a pheasant tail. You know, this is a bigger nymph. So, did about 3 inches there. And we're going to, on the fairly thicker side, might be 2 or 3 wraps thick. Nice. I'll pull down another 3 inches. Nah, not even another. Maybe 2 inches. Do a little bit more of the noodle. I'll always wet my fingers. Okay. And we're going to go up. That's a little too thick there. You want a nice even. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, I'm going to go right there. Okay, maybe. I'm trying to guesstimate how much space I'm going to need for my wing case and my lively legs. Because this lively legs we're going to use 3. Not just 2, we're going to use 3. So there you go. So we're probably about 3/5 of the way up, and we're leaving 2/5 for the thorax, okay? Okay, so now I'm going to tie this thread up a little bit of the middle of the thorax, and we're going to just let it hang there. We're going to get our dark brown 60 or 140 UTC, like a denier thread, and so it can be thicker, 60 or 140. And we're going to get rid of the white thread, because the brown thread for the abdomen will show through that dubbing material. I don't like it. I like a nice light colored abdomen. Okay, so now we're going to take nice spiral spaced, evenly spaced wraps up with our ostrich herl. We'll probably get about 4 to 5. There's 4, and we'll get a 5th one in there. 5. Let's make them. That was not even. We'll get that a little bit more even. Go back a little. 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. They look nice and even. We're going to tie that off. Okay. Then we're going to get our turkey over body. Bring it over. Keep it on top. Make sure it doesn't get pinched in there. The sides of the turkey don't get pinched. You get a nice layer on top, and we'll just do 2 wraps. Pull it back and do 2 wraps. Okay. And then we're going to do 1 guard here. The BR, size BR gold ribbing, and we'll probably get 4 or 5 wraps out of this. 1, 2, over top of everything. You might want to wiggle it in between those oyster churl fibers. 3, 4, and we did get 5. We're going to pull the wing case back and do 2 or 3 secure wraps on that ribbing, and then we're going to cut it off. Boom. Okay. Woohoo. So now gonna wax up our thread again, about 3 or 4 inches of it, of the brown thread now, and we're gonna get just regular medium hare's ear dubbing or SLF. There's this color. This one has some antron, gold antron in it. This one is just regular natural. You can use possum, you can use hare's ear. This one has natural hare's ear. This is on the lighter side. Medium to a light color brown of a natural hare's ear color is all you need. Now this one we're going to do not real thin, but thinner than the abdomen, the thickness of how we did our dubbing noodle. Okay, because we're going to do 2 layers of this with the lively legs. We're going to do a base layer and then lay the lively legs on top and then secure them in with another layer. Okay, so it can be a little thinner because the thorax is going to be thicker just with the lively legs in there, but thoraxes you want thicker. You want that contrast of a thicker thorax versus the abdomen. Abdomens are skinnier than the thoraxes. So I'm going to I'm going to go up the front first and then go work my way to the back. Make sure you go back and make this turkey bend back. Okay, and we're gonna need a little bit more. See, I used up most of my noodle there, so I'm gonna have to probably need a good 2 inches, 2.5 inches of a thin noodle to secure the lively legs in. Right around there. Nice and thin. Okay. And we're using the Sparkle Camo Bling Camo. Let me show it to you again. Model, they call it. Mottled Bling. Right there. And this is the medium size 810 size. And we're going to use, not trimming this, we're not trimming it at all. But make sure the back legs go back up against that turkey wing case, and make sure the front legs are 1 or 2 millimeters behind the eye. And I do a middle wrap first, maybe 2 middle wraps, then we'll do a back wrap like a figure 8, another back wrap on the other side, and you could stop and reposition those lively legs if you have to. Then we'll do a front wrap over the lively legs, over the front middle section, and then the very front of the tab over the eye. We're going to do 2 wraps, make sure it's centered, and then pull the tab back, and 2 wraps underneath the tab. And our lively legs is on. Now we're going to get our tweezers,
pull the back tab back and up, cut it off, do the front tab, pull it up and stretch it a little, cut it off, and then we're going to pull that nice wing case over and do a nice wrap behind the eye. 2, 3, 4. Pull that wing case back. Save this wing case material for pheasant tails or other. You might even get one more ginger nymph out of that. And we'll cut that. I don't care if a little bit sticks out there. That's no big deal. That'll help secure my whip finish knot. Okay. And then we're going to whip finish the head. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know stoneflies have a huge head, but you can't do that here. Nice, good, tight. And then again, for durability of that wing case, we're going to get the super glue, and you can use a bigger drop on your needle. This is a needle, like a bobby pin needle, or bobby pin I should say. Nice big drop, and we're going to put it on top and just spread it. Make sure it goes over your whip finish knots. And just let it sit there and soak in and dry. And we are done our big ginger nymph. So I'll show you. There's the underside. You see the two-tone color base of the underside of that nymph. It's brown, light brown under the thorax, creamy under the abdomen. And then we got a nice beautiful tail. And we got, see how that looks there? It looks like a two-tone abdomen because of that over body. You got a cream underside, the turkey on top, a nice turkey wing case, and those legs stick out just beautiful. That is just so yummy looking to those fish. Okay guys, I hope you guys have as much luck with this tandem rig setup as I do up in the Delaware. Have fun and enjoy. If you have any questions, please comment. Ask me any questions you want in the comments section, and I will definitely get back to you. Okay, thank you very much.